Ya. Woohoo!
Hello, my name is Natasha Binti Umar. My metric number is 059910. Today I will present moral and ethical issue in credit assessment profession. Banks' code of conduct are examined to see what features are required to carry out their objective. The main value that I have present first is honesty and transparency, accuracy and expertise, consumer interest and internal good. Besides, I find that in some situations banks do not meet the moral criteria they have established for themselves. As much as it is fair to place responsibility on banks and the professionals who work there for their action, it must equally be acknowledged that the free market environment in which they work made it difficult for them to uphold the essential ideals that are at the foundation of their code. Innovative and hard approach to increasing earning and approach the new free market system says it benefits shareholder. Institutional adjustments that help banks carry out their mission are necessary for returning to the financial sector's basic qualities. Only they gain a revitalized sense of responsibility and the industry be successful. Even if you don't work in the financial service industry, you are nevertheless affected by ethical difficulties in the sector because the public has a sense that financial services are more unethical than other industry. Insider trading, stakeholder or stockholder interest, investment management, and financing are some of the most common ethical infractions in finance.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Siti Noranis binti Muhammad Zulkifli and my metric number is 059497. Today I will talk about honesty and transparency in credit assessments.
Honesty and transparency important in providing true detail for their client before making an interactions. Transparency in an interactions will make the client easy in making optimal decisions, especially in development of the scarce resource in order to maximize their utility.
Lack of transparency can be a problem in the case of administrative information. Honesty and transparency also can avoid situations such as exploitation of trust and ignorance by others by manipulating the price, quality and quantity in a manner that is hard to discern for the less well-information market parties. Transparency in detail of the company in information asymmetry is also important in helping the client or customer in boosting their profits. Honesty, ethical and moral of the professions is one of the aspects that is needed in all of the aspects in credit assessments, especially in avoiding violations and any issue or problem in credit, such as loan and service of credit card. If the loan are given to someone using power and using a corrupt way, it can be one of the reasons to abuse other clients to get the service of the institutions and increase risk in business securitizations.
Next, for the second issue is accuracy and expertise. Accuracy and expertise is one of the essential in making sure any transaction in bank and utilities of the bank work well in giving service to the customer to make them satisfied with our work. This also shows the securitization of business. Next, due to accuracy and expertise involved in the efficient payment mechanism, especially in using bank facilities such as transferring deposit money to others to buy their goods and service. and also in value of assessment and management risk of the loan. In situations such as poor credit assessments can be bad feedback to the client, like the risk of putting too much money into risky venture that default. This can make the client cannot have good return of their deposit and bank cannot also perform deposit properly. Next, accuracy status also is one of the important aspects of moral virtue in considering an accurate person in weighing the value of additional information against the cost of acquiring it. This is essential in collecting the true detail or information to get the control of external obstacle. This shows the moral from it is needed in any work or transaction and the attitude to make sure all business work well. A securitization business, for example, is critical to assessing risks before receive or giving information to client before making loan. Last but not least, appetites also must be honest in work to avoid any violence to the customer. This means the accuracy and appetites are important in credit assessment procedure.
Consumer is a person who buys things and use services. Consumer interest can be defined as those things in which the mass market and average consumers like most of us are interested. In credit assessment profession, consumer interest can ensure the financial institutions to create customer value by providing the best financial products and services for their clients. For instance, mortgages have complex intertemporal factors that ordinary people cannot readily assess when they cover a long period of time. When consumers are harmed by the product in a way that was predicted or could have been prevented by the creditor, it has the potential to decrease consumer interest to use the product from the creditor again. So, all financial institutions need to assist clients properly to ensure they are satisfied with the product and services that have been offered. In addition to providing relevant, innovative, and reliable individual financial solutions, these institutions should put customers first and strive to help them realize their financial ambitions in a way that helps clients to achieve both their personal and social goals.
In order to evaluate the behavior of professional bankers, we use the virtue theory of McIntyre. McIntyre approached virtue theory by developing the concept of practice and internal good. People can only realize the good life if they aspire to the internal goods of the practice they are involved in. McIntyre defines a practice as any complex form of socially established cooperative human activity through which goods internal to that form of activity are realized in the course of trying to achieve those standards of excellence which are appropriate to that activity. Goods internal to this practice cannot be obtained but by participating in the practice. In order to realize the goods internal to practice, people need to develop virtues. McIntyre gave the following definition of a virtue as an acquired human quality, the possession and exercise of which tends to enable us to achieve those goods that are internal to practices. In this section, we apply McIntyre's theories to the practice of banking. We don't need to start from scratch to identify banking's internal goods and the virtues needed to produce them. Many of these professionals work for institutions or professions with ethic codes. Our starting point will be the values and bank norms in bank mission statements. These normative frameworks should guide financial professionals' behavior. Many of these codes of conduct have been updated to deal with the financial crisis consequences, most importantly, a loss of trust in banks and the financial sector in general. This doesn't mean new value and norms emerged. Most codes of ethics mention the values below before the crisis. The internal goods that the practice of banking aims at can be derived from the mission statements of financial institutions. From the mission statements, we can derive that the missions of bank is to serve the interests of customers by providing them with relevant financial products at competitive price. To realize the internal goods, bankers need several virtues that are considered essential to providing financial service. A review of the codes of conduct shows that the virtue of honesty and integrity in particular and the related concept of transparency and openness are generally perceived to be important for bankers. For example, Deutsche Bank tells us on its corporate website that integrity and honesty are instrumental in gaining and keeping the trust of its stakeholders.
In summary, government and politicians play a crucial part in administering credit assessment. They have the capability and authority to manage the banking industry functionality for people rights and equality. Credit crisis is a crash of financial system caused by unexpected and drastic interference of the typical process of cash movement that hold up any economy in credit assessment. A bank scarcity of cash accessible for lending is just one in chain of downhill events that arise in credit crisis. In 2008, because of greed and miscalculation, United States of America has faced credit crisis affecting global economy including Asia, resulted by sudden disruption on financial movement as banks and lenders competing to provide loan to each of its people, which is where people with no credibility in the first place also have the opportunity to borrow the money. And at the end of the day, they are unable to pay the house loan and thus increasing the crimes such as fraud and embezzlement. Credit crisis can be avoided on condition that every employee in the banking and finance industry and also parties concerned acted ethically by being firm to honesty and integrity, displaying good quality and professionalism, and being attentive toward the interest and need of customer. If there are white collar who breach of contract and take bribes, they should get severe punishment such as suspended from work for months, reduced to lower rank, or even worse, get fired as a lesson for their attitude. Aside from this severe punishment, to practice understanding people, doing charity such as visiting welfare homes and caring and serving the occupant can help individuals to have more compassion toward others as it increases the social skills of professionals besides evoke sense of empathy, thus increasing the understanding of people's wish and concern. Participation in charity is extremely helpful in informing the attitude and thinking of individuals as they associate with different types of people with different perspectives and necessity.